Welcome to Body Hack and Build a Better You, the podcast where we unlock the secret to living a longer, healthier life and create a bloom zone in our life and within our family. I'm your host, Michaela Morell, and I'm here to provide you with the tools and knowledge to empower you to build a better you, one essential building block at a time. In today's episode, I am sharing a little bit of an update of my own body hacking journey, and I'm also sharing an update about my mom. But the episode is all about a topic that's both shocking and crucial for anyone who's serious about their health: the quality of omega-3 supplements. You have likely heard of the benefits of omega-3 for heart health, brain function, and reduced inflammation. But what if I told you that a large percentage of omega-3 supplements on the market are actually rancid? Today, we'll explore why that happens, how it affects our health, and what to look for to ensure you're getting a product that truly benefits your body. I want to remind you that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Read the disclaimer in the show notes, and I want to remind you to always consult your healthcare provider if you plan to make any dietary changes. And now, let's start the episode. I'm sitting here in my new office in Norway, and my office is completely overcrowded with boxes and things. But I finally got my stuff, so I'm about to get my office ready. But unpacking it, I find a couple of things I got myself as just a treat to myself because I start loving breathwork so much. I start loving different frequencies and things. It can be so healing to us. Anyway, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on how things are going on my own biohacking journey. And so I will start with that, and then I'm going to travel in a little bit and talk about why most omega-3s are around. I've heard episode number 1 where I'm sharing my story, and I just cannot stop being amazed over how strong my immune system have been built up. I used to struggle with my immune system so bad, and I was sick like all the time. And I would just get sick over and over and over again and stay healthy for a couple of days or sometimes weeks. But a lot of the times I would just fall back into getting sick again. So it's fascinating to look back because I haven't really been sick for like 3 years now. I remember last year I was sick for like 12 hours, a little bit feverish feeling, and I just kept on running around anyway. And this year I've just been to a beautiful event here in Oslo, actually, in Norway. And it was over almost 3,000 people there. And I hugged on so many people. And I was in a conference room for like 3 days, and people were coughing all around me. And it's just so fascinating to see how I did not get sick. And I started feeling a little bit like I was having a sore throat one day, but I just overdosed on beta 1316 glucons, like I always do if I start feeling something come on. And then also I take extra vitamin C and extra vitamin D. But then it's just like it never breaks out. It just gets reversed. And it's like I'm not wanting to jinx it, so I'm knocking on wood. But it's just so fun to see how far my body have become. Then also, I think it's also fun to share that you know how your collagen production goes down as you're aging. And I want to have an all natural appearance. I am not a big fan of putting toxins into your body. So I am not a big fan of Botox, for example. And people can claim it's safe and all, but I just choose to wanting to treat my body with as many natural approaches as possible versus turning into not natural options. And so I have lately been starting a new collagen. I have been using collagen for a couple of months, yeah, pretty much daily. And I started a new kind, and I'm fascinated by the results. So I posted my results on social media a couple of days ago, and I am just addicted and in love with the result. I cannot wait to see how my skin will look and feel like in another year because already after just 5 days, I saw improvement. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun being able to create better circumstances for your skin to look youthful. So I love that. And then an update on my mom's situation. It's a little bit tricky right now. Something is going on with her health, and we are not quite sure what it is. She went into the doctors because she did not feel good. She have had some fever going on for like a few nights in a row. So she ended up going into the hospital, and they were able to see that her sänka was very high. So my mom's sedimentation rate was very high. And I'm not sure if you are if you know what high means, but normally it should be 0 and less than 5 if you're healthy. And then I had a good friend of mine, she had like lung infection going on, and hers were at 78. Well, when my mom came into the hospital, she was at 178. So they admitted her right away. But it was funny. I was FaceTiming her when the doctor came in, and he was saying, like, yeah, we found it was a little bit high. And I was like, how high was it? And he's like, 178. I was like, wow, it's high, right? He's like, yeah, normally people are very, very affected at this rate, but it's not so important what the numbers are showing. The most important part is how you're feeling, and you're up and walking around, and you have great color in your face, and you're looking good. So we are not too worried about it. Anyway, they took a lot of bacteria tests and just tests overall because, to be honest, I was a little bit worried about us maybe overdoing a little bit on the supplementation because we are boosting my mom with a lot of different supplementations. And I was a little bit worried that her fever was due to that. But it did find bacteria in her blood, and it was two different kinds. So, and they did measure a lot of different values in the blood, and everything came out looking good. And it felt like it was mainly because of the bacteria. So they put her on some penicillin, and she was starting that, but she didn't really respond very well the first day. She went up to even 240, and then she started going down. And she have been treated with some of that medication for a little bit now, and she's doing better, but she still had some fever the other day again. So something is going on, but my mom is still keeping strong. She's like driving around in a car, going and doing errands by herself. And I could not be happier to see her results because when she was struggling, I did an update a couple of weeks ago, but she was on a lot of morphine. And usually, when people are starting to get on those levels, it's not very good. It just, a lot of things are happening in the body, and I don't know. Usually, it's not that easy to get off it. But my mom did after just a few days on her new protocol. So it was very exciting. Anyway, I know just a lot of people are wondering and asking about it. And if you want to go and get her update, I think it was in episode 13, I was sharing her journey again. And if you want to hear it all from the start, it's episode number 2. Okay, so this episode is inspired because I got a couple of questions today. And one of the questions was, why is it good to take omega-3 with food? So I wanted to address that too. So omega-3 is a fatty acid. And as we're eating any type of fats, our body needs to produce an enzyme called lipase, which it works like a scissor because the fats are like long chains and the body cannot absorb them right away. So we need to break them down. And it's an enzyme called lipase that is cutting them into smaller pieces. But the problem is if you're eating food without chewing and without stimulating the body to send signals to your gut and your systems, then the body will not start producing the enzymes that they need. So that is why it's so important to chew your food properly to create more enzymes for being able to break down the food more properly. And if you are then taking, for example, an omega-3 supplementation without eating any food, it can be hard on your stomach to try to break it down. And if you're not able to break it down, you might end up with floaty poop because you haven't been able to absorb the fatty acids in the food as good as you should have, because you may not have been starting to produce the enzymes. So that is why it's so important to take it with food, because when you're chewing and when you're stimulating the body to create those enzymes that will help you break it down into small, small, small particles so that you can actually absorb it more properly, then that is what we want to achieve with us eating any type of food. We want it to be absorbed into our system. So that was one question I got today. And the second one was, Michaela, I see so many articles about omega-3 not working. What is it that makes omega-3 being a bad supplementation or a good supplementation? So I wanted to address this too, because I have access to a database which we have been testing about 1.5 million people. And this database is clearly showing that even if we're looking at the numbers for United States, for example, even if 16% of the population is using an omega-3 supplementation, less than 1% is actually getting the benefits you're aiming for with your omega-3 supplementation. So the benefits you're aiming for is becoming in so-called omega balance, which means that you're having a better ratio between omega-6 and omega-3, and also above 8% in omega-3 index. And omega-3 index, that's a conversation too, because there's a lot of people that might go to the doctor and measuring your index, and it can look quite good if you are taking a supplementation in the morning because you remember that you're going to the doctor, and you're taking the supplements in the morning, and then you go to the doctor, and then you're measuring what's in the white blood cells. So the white blood cells are basically just showcasing how you have been eating and what you have been remembering to take of supplementation for the past 2, 3, 4 days. So measuring in the plasma is not the most accurate way of measuring your omega-3 index. And also, if you're taking supplementation right before you go to the doctor, your levels in your blood will be pretty high when you go there. But 6 hours later, 10 hours later, 15 hours later, it may not be any omega-3 left in your system, depending on the quality of the supplementation. So it can look good when you're first measuring it, but it may not tell the whole truth of how your omega-3 levels are in your blood 24/7. And why is it important to have omega-3 in your blood 24/7? Because omega-3 is an essential building block of your cells. So every single cell needs omega-3 when we're creating a new cell. And we're creating about 2 million of new cells every single second. So if you're lacking omega-3, you're not going to be able to create a cell membrane that have a good ratio between omega-6 and omega-3. Why do we want to have a good ratio between omega-6 and omega-3 again, you might ask? Because we need to balance up the omega-6 molecules. Omega-6 is what saves us if we are cutting ourselves. So instead of bleeding out, it creates inflammation and it saves us. But then we need omega-3 that will give the signals of turning off the inflammation that omega-6 created. So we need to have balance between omega-6 and omega-3. Both are essential. We cannot create them ourselves. We need to either eat them or we need to supplement with them. But omega-6, you don't have to think about omega-6. I get so frustrated when I'm seeing an omega-3 supplementation, which like omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9. Well, the whole reason for us taking omega-3 supplementation is to balance out all the omega-6 we're eating naturally in our diet. We do not need to supplement with omega-6. So if your omega-3 supplementation states they have omega-6 in it too, choose another supplement, please. Unless you have measured your levels and seen that you're low on omega-6 too. But to this day, I have not found a single person that have too low levels of omega-6 unless you're eating too little, unless you're struggling with some eating disorder, then it can be that you might need to supplement with it. But what I tell you, measure it, okay? So why is it that even though 16% of the population is using an omega-3 supplement and only 1% is having good values? Because omega-3 supplements don't work. That is the short answer. And why not? Well, looking at omega-3 and measuring people that have been taking omega-3, I've come to understand that we need to ask more questions regarding omega-3. We have to ask the questions of how have it been harvested? How long transportation time from it been harvested until they're adding an antioxidant? Is the antioxidant an antioxidant that is actually protecting omega-3, or is it just protecting the omega-3 in a bottle and not when it's in our body? See, there are different things happening in the bottle of omega-3 than it is what's happening in our body. I will come in a little bit deeper to that. But when we are storing omega-3, we need to store it in dark environment, and it should not be heated and it should not be exposed to light. So a lot of omega-3 supplementations, when it's traveling across the world, it can be hard to make sure that it's not exposed to too much heat or too much sunlight or light. So that is one problem when we're talking about omega-3 supplementation and what is causing it to maybe not be as bioactive. And omega-3 is very prone to oxidation. It goes rancid pretty quickly. And if you have been out fishing, I don't know if you have been fishing yourself, if you went to the grocery store, but if you don't put in the fish directly in the refrigerator, you will kind of pretty fast be able to smell that it smells fish all over the house. And it's because omega-3 oxidize very quickly. And the heat is definitely playing a key here because the fish want to be on cold. I have been working in a normal grocery store where we have a fresh fish desk where we are every morning putting out eyes, and we're putting the fish on top of the eyes. And every afternoon we have to put it into a cold storage unit again. And we're cleaning off the eyes, and then we're repeating this. If we don't have the ice, the fish will go bad pretty quickly. And if you bring it home and you don't put it in the refrigerator, it starts smelling fish pretty quickly in your whole house. It's important to understand that the room temperature is not as warm as our body. Our body is even warmer. So if the fish get oxidized in heat very quickly, why is that happening? That is something we have to understand. And also the exposure of oxygen. That is also tricky. There are some studies estimating that up to 50% of fish oil supplementation on the market may already be rancid by the time they reach the consumer. And we have to remember that if we are having rancid fish oil, it can actually be harmful as they produce free radicals when oxidized. Instead of supporting your health, they can actually contributing to more inflammation and cause your cells more damage. So the omega-3 needs to be protected by the right antioxidants. And usually when you're at home looking at your omega-3 bottle and you're reading on it, when it comes to antioxidants, a lot of them are just adding mixed tocopherols, which is a name for vitamin E, or it can also be prime rose oil, or there's different types of things people are adding. But really, what omega-3 needs, what I found is the most successful combination of omega-3 and an antioxidant is actually polyphenols. Polyphenols is able to protect omega-3 in a unique way. It's like they're getting married and they just stay married for life. If they get married to vitamin E, it's divorce in the future. But if they get married to the polyphenols, that's a strong bond that they're creating. Because when we're having those sisters coming and cutting up the long chains to smaller pieces, if the bonds are not strong enough, they will break apart. And suddenly omega-3 is by itself out in the warm environment our body is offering. And the vitamin E is not able to protect it anymore. The vitamin E is not negative. It's like it's a good antioxidant. It's just not good for omega-3, but it can still be beneficial for our body, but it's not helping the omega-3 stay fresh and potent. And if it doesn't help you with that, what is happening with the omega-3? Gets rancid. And having omega-3 that is rancid can cause your cells to have more issues with both inflammation and cell damage. So how can we know if the omega-3 is rancid is the question mark. Well, from harvesting fish to the manufacturer, all the packaging, transporting, and all the steps can expose omega-3 to heat or air, accelerating the oxidation process. And I've already talked about the improper storage, how that can affect it. And also like at home too, omega-3 should be refrigerated after it's open, and it should be kept in a cool place to extend the shelf life. But that is not always followed either. Some people are even storing their supplementation above the oven. I've seen that. And then the oven is on and that creates heat, and all the supplements above it is like, anyway, think of what where you're putting your supplement when you're in your kitchen. That is my message to you. And also if the product is a low quality product, because some brands don't purify or stabilize their oils well, and adding the wrong antioxidant and so on, that makes oxidation more likely. So how can we choose a good omega-3 supplement? So the first thing you want to make sure is if it smell, taste, or make you burp fish. If it smells fishy, don't eat it. If it makes you burp fishy, the body is trying to send a signal to reject it, like it's not good. And if you're doing capsules, don't be afraid of cut one in half and taste it or smell it. And it should not smell fish, but if you taste it and it's actually like glue, then it's very, very toxic. Don't eat it at all. And it can be hard to control your capsules. Like, yes, capsules can be very hard. So I recommend you to every now and then open up a capsule, smell it, and if it's good, you can take it. But if it smells bad, don't take it. Okay? Another thing I like to look at when I'm looking at omega-3, like I love polyphenols in it. So if it's a mix between omega-3 and extra virgin olive oil, that's a good marriage. But I like to look for the GMP certification. It's called the Good Manufacturer Practice certification. And it's so important because it helps make sure that the standard and the quality is safe to use every single time. And they're actually checking every single batch. So I actually went to visit the factory that is creating the omega-3 I'm using. And I was very impressed because every single batch, they're saving a bottle of omega-3 and they're putting it on the shelf. So if there's ever a quality matter, they're able to take and measure the quality in that bottle to see if there was an issue or not, which is really cool. But when something is GMP certified, it's following very strict guidelines to ensure that every batch of omega-3 supplements meets consistent quality standard. This includes controlling every aspect of the product process, from sourcing raw materials to finally packaging, to ensure that the product meets its label claims. So if it says that it's 700 milligrams of DHA and 1300 milligrams of EPA, what's on the bottle, it will be in the bottle. See, a lot of supplements, they are writing high numbers and it may not be what's actually in it. So look for a GMP certification. And also what it means for an omega-3 supplementation to have this, it also means that the oils are free from harmful contamination, such as heavy metals, pesticides, or microbial contamination. So this is a critical, as poor quality omega-3 oils can sometimes contain these impurities, especially if it's sourced from certain regions or types of fish. And you know how important it is. If you're going to take something every single day, it needs to be something good. Because even if it's just slightly toxic, it will build up over time. So that's why it's so important with the GMP certification to just make sure that the omega-3 is good. Another thing that I also want to talk about when it comes to the GMP certification is that the facilities have protocols to prevent omega-3 oils from becoming rancid during the process as well. So it's not only like in the beginning, but this includes using nitrogen flushing, controlled temperatures, and proper storage conditions to protect the oil from oxidation. And oxidation can degrade the quality and efficiency of omega-3s, making this aspect of GMP certification crucial. And also, having that certification also means that they're controlling the labeling and dosage accuracy. Like I said, what's on the label is actually in the product, so you can trust the quantities. Also, as a company of supplementation, if you're GMP certifying your products, it's also required that you, as a manufacturer, keep detailed records, which means each batch of omega-3 can be traced back through the production process. And this accountability helps protect consumers and provides transparency if there are any issues or recalls. And that is another thing I think is so important. So that's why I'm always looking for not only omega-3, but I want all of my supplementations to be GMP certified, because the supplementation industry, a lot of it is a sham. A lot of it is not regulated, but that GMP certification means that the products are actually checked with each batch and it's traceable and it keeps the company accountable, which I love. So those are a couple of things I would recommend you to look for, that your omega-3 comes in a dark bottle, that it's GMP certified, and that it doesn't just contain vitamin E, but it's also containing polyphenols. I love when it's like from a very high quality extra virgin olive oil. And also, if it is from olive oil, it's important to understand the region from where the olive oil is harvested too, because olive oil, we need to do an episode on that too. A lot of olive oils are so fake that it's so frustrating. So frustrating, because as consumers, we think we're buying a product and then we may not have what we bought in our hand. Anyway, that will be another episode, but make sure that your olive oil is a good sourced olive oil. And if you do all of this, and also like what I would want to say in the end is, it's important to prioritize quality over price. So many people are looking at prices when they're choosing a supplementation, but remember that you're paying what you're getting. But that doesn't mean that the most pricey omega-3 is the best one either. I have been proving that wrong over and over again. I have been measuring the blood tests of people that have been using omega-3 for over $100 a month. And when I'm measuring their omega-3 levels, they get pretty mad because they can clearly see that just because they're paying a high ticket price for their item, it's not helping them anymore. So it's the quality is what matters, and it's not always the most expensive one that is the best, but you should definitely stay away from what you're finding on Costco or Aldi or um, your local pharmacy. I mean, sometimes they have something good, but most of the stuff I've been looking at, it's the same things. Like a lot of supplementations, it can be the same producer that is selling it to a lot of different companies, so that and they are reselling the product. So a lot of the omega-3 supplements, they can be labeled with different things, and what you're buying directly from the pharmacy might be the omega-3 that a low-priced company is selling their omega-3. Like, yeah. Sorry for confusing you even more if you're struggling with trying to find a good brand. Um, but there is just a lot of things to check off. And then in the end, it's not even how much EPA and DHA you're getting percent. It is how much EPA and DHA is your body able to absorb. That is the biggest question that you have to ask yourself. And the only way we can know that is if we start to measuring it. So I loved telling people that they should take an omega-3 ratio test. I love the balance test. That is the one I'm using myself. But there are a couple of different options out there, but the balance test is able to measure 98% of all your fatty acids. So it's a very comprehensive test. So it's not only measuring your omega-3 levels, but also your omega-6, your omega-9, your saturated fats, and so on. So it gives you a very good overview over how your omega-3 levels are in your body. Anyway, that was the questions that showed up in my inbox today. So I figured I was going to answer them with this episode instead. And I hope you guys are having a beautiful week. I am going to head to bed here in Norway, and it's all pitch black outside. And I've just been so busy with unpacking the house. It's completely a mess still, but I'm starting to see the light in the tunnel. So anyway, so before I'm letting you guys go, I just want to say thank you to my listener, Anna. Anna from Sweden. She said, "Hi, Michaela, you are so awesome. I've just been spending all of the afternoon installing some new lights in the living room. And yes, I know it's early, but it's so cozy. At the same time, I've been listening to 4 episodes of your podcast. I started tearing up, and it might have been some tears, and I was so deeply affected. I will keep on listening on your 5th episode right now. Clapping hands, smiley, heart." Anyway, thank you so much, Anna, for that response. I am so honored for having people like you finding my podcast and listening to it. And Anna, as a big thank you to you for taking the time out of your day to give me that feedback, I would love to return the favor, and I would love to send a balance test to you. And to everyone else out there, thank you for listening another week. And let's go out and inspire the world to take control of their own health. Bye. Hey guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, I encourage you to do one thing for me. Think of one person you want to share this podcast with and copy the link and send it right away. Thanks for playing an important role in the Blue Zone community. And if you want to keep on building a better you, one essential building block at a time, hit that subscribe button. See you in the next episode.